In this video, we're going to focus on link aggregation. And the whole game there is to make two or more paths, make them look like one path. And often that's represented by this. You put a little loop around those in the topology to indicate it's a link aggregation group. Now, to configure the link aggregation, there's a few ways of doing it. And they're all going to involve configuring these two ports on switch 3 and these two ports over here on switch 4 to actually do the link aggregation. So one option is just to set it to on, and I'll put LAG here for a link aggregation group. Just set it to on and tell both sides that there's just a link aggregation group and be done with it. However, it's often safer to use a protocol that can help negotiate that, including keeping track of the other side, making sure that they're both in compliance with the protocol we're using. So if we're going to use a protocol to help us negotiate and support our link aggregation, there are two of them that we can play with. One of those protocols is PAgP, and the acronym is spelled out just like that. And it stands for Port Aggregation Protocol, and that is a Cisco proprietary protocol for negotiating and setting up link aggregation. Now, one may ask, well, Keith, why? Why does Cisco oftentimes have proprietary protocols for things? And the answer is, a lot of times, no one else has a standard for it. So they were one of the earlier creators of this whole thing called a link aggregation group using their proprietary protocol. Now, as time went on, that was such a good idea that other protocols were created in their image, if you will. And one of the open standard protocols for link aggregation is called LACP, Link Aggregation Control Protocol, and that's an open standard. So if you have Cisco devices and you want to do link aggregation, many of those Cisco devices very likely will support both Port Aggregation Protocol or Link Aggregation Control Protocol. And because oftentimes we don't have completely only just Cisco gear in an enterprise, it's very often a smart move to use the open standard, and that way we're going to be compatible with other vendors like Juniper, HP, etc. So let me clean this up a little bit, and let me also share with you some of the telltale signs when we're setting up link aggregation about which protocol we're using. With Port Aggregation Protocol, when we configure the multi-layer switches to support link aggregation, in the configuration we'll see the options of auto or desirable. And auto means that if one side, for example, using Port Aggregation Protocol, if one side initiates a conversation and says, yes, I'd like to do the Port Aggregation Protocol, the side that's set to auto will say, yes, I'm happy to do that if I'm invited, where desirable is going to go ahead and initially try to set up the connection. So I'm going to enable desirable as the go-getter, and for the auto side, I'm going to say willing if asked. So in the configuration for link aggregation, if we see the options of auto or desirable, that's referring to the options regarding Port Aggregation Protocol. And for Link Aggregation Control Protocol, the options are active, which is a lot like the desirable option. It's a go-getter, meaning it'll initiate the conversation to start the dialogue with the other side. And the other option is called passive, which is very much like the auto feature, where it will go ahead and negotiate Link Aggregation Control Protocol with the other side if the other side initiated the conversation. So passive says, I'll do it if asked. Or more appropriately, I should say, is willing to do it, meaning negotiate the protocol if asked. And if we have the link aggregation group set to just on, that means we're not using Port Aggregation Protocol, nor are we using Link Aggregation Control Protocol. And behind the scenes, in the Cisco environment, behind the scenes is going to create a logical entity, a logical interface called a port channel. So you can call it port channel 1, for example, or port channel 2. We get to specify that when we configure it. And as we configure the port channel, it's then that we're going to specify auto or desirable if we're using Port Aggregation Protocol, or active or passive if we're using Link Access Control Protocol. So generally speaking, we're going to be using the open standard here, and it's also very likely we're going to set both sides to active, meaning either side can initiate the conversation, and as a result, the other side is automatically going to be willing to go along as well. And then once we have the link aggregation group set up, regardless of which method we use, instead of spanning trees seeing these two separate parallel paths, it'll see just one logical path called port channel, in this case, port channel number 1. And as a result, spanning tree won't try to block on any of the individual ports, and the port channel itself, whether we're using link aggregation control protocol or port aggregation protocol, it will on its own prevent any layer 2 loops from occurring. So in that case, we're actually tricking spanning tree to make it look like one link, and we're also preventing any loops because the actual link aggregation won't allow a loop at layer 2. So with that in mind, regarding a few of our options in making two or more links look like one logical interface, in the next video, I'd like to walk you through the implementation of link aggregation using two Cisco multi-layer switches, and we're going to use the link aggregation control protocol to do it. So I'll see you in the next video in just a moment. Hey, thanks for watching, and subscribe right here to get the latest information from CBT Nuggets. And if you're new to or considering a career in the world of IT, head on over to CBT Nuggets and sign up for a free trial.